Hey there, Stampin' friends, Randy from Stampin' with Randy. Just wanted to pop in and give you another card using the hand-drawn blooms stamp set. And we're also going to be using the dies today from the Banner Blooms dies kit. So today we're just going to be using one of the sentiments, wishing you a happy birthday, and the big image from that die set. We're going to be using lots of colors from the Brights collection: Melon Mambo, Flirty Flamingo, Mango Melody, Daffodil Delight, Granny Apple Green, Coastal Cabana, Bermuda Bay, and Gorgeous Grape. And we're going to be doing some watercoloring today. So I have a piece of watercolor paper that I've die cut using that die from the set. And I also have a piece of DSP from the Artistry Blooms Designer Series paper. It's got the green pattern on the other side and the kind of purple pink ombre there. And then we're going to be using a piece of Coastal Cabana. This is 11 by 11 by 4 1/4, scored at 5 1/2 for our card base. So I'm going to put those pieces aside and get my inks opened up here. We're going to be using an aqua painter to do our painting today. I really wanted to be able to saturate the paper as much as I wanted to and not have to worry about it pilling up. So that's why I'm using watercolor paper instead of the shimmery white cardstock or the Whisper white cardstock. And as I'm painting today, you'll see that I kind of move around a little bit. I don't want to get any areas right next to each other that are still wet. I want areas to be able to dry a little bit so that I'm not mixing colors too much. And also to protect my work surface today, I'm going to be using our silicone craft sheet. And then just a piece of paper towel over that to help collect any water or color that might come off. I also have another piece you can see from a previous card I was working on of paper towel just to swipe out my colors in between. If you've never used an aqua painter before, this is our older style. We have newer ones now. But to fill the barrel, you will untwist it here, and then you can fill it with water. Twist that back on, and then to make the water come out, it usually free flows pretty well by itself, but if you need to, you can give it a little squeeze and more water will come out. This is really nice for painting because it gives you a little bit more control of how much water is coming out versus a regular paintbrush. And I guess I shouldn't have opened all my ink pads quite this far. You'll see this is an older style ink pad, but you'll see that it's well loved. So to get some ink in that, to kind of give yourself a little palette of color, I just give a light squeeze. You don't want to press too hard. You don't want to crack the pad by any means, but you'll see that I've done that to all of my ink pads. And then on our style of ink pads we have right now, you can still do the same thing. Just give it a little squeeze in the center. It doesn't have as much give as the old style, but it still works pretty well. And that will give you a nice little well of ink to be able to use for watercoloring. All right. So I will fast forward through some of the watercoloring so you don't have to sit here for so long and watch me paint. But I'm just going to start out by using my aqua painter and getting some of these stems down here at the bottom. I'm going to pre-wet them. It just helps the ink move around a little bit. Again, I'm not squeezing, I'm just using whatever water is coming out. I'm kind of being careful as I get up to that banner piece because I want that to stay nice and white. That's where I'll be stamping my sentiment. And then there are some little flowers on this bottom part here, so I want to make sure that I steer clear of those because I don't want my ink to just pool in those areas. Okay, I think I've got most of them there. So I'm going to go in with some Granny Apple Green, and I'm just going to start putting my color on. As it starts to fade out, you can go in where it's going to be more of a deeper color is right where you just pressed down. You'll see what I mean if you try this technique out on your own. But I also don't want to be so perfect and exact in painting everything. It's watercolor. It's okay if there's darker or lighter spots. It's okay if there's still some white spots left. And I by no means am an expert at watercolor, but for this look that I wanted the watercolor look for, I think I did okay on my first trial card that I did. So I'm going to go ahead and speed up my painting here so that you can not have to stick around for the whole thing. I'll see you back in a little bit. Alright, so now that I finished watercoloring, I'm going to put away my inks and then we'll get started with assembling the card. Alright, so before I set this aside to dry, I'm going to get out my sentiment. It says, "Wishing you a happy birthday," from the Hand Drawn Blooms stamp set. And I'm using my Coastal Cabana ink pad just to ink this up. And it's going to get put right in the middle on that banner. Okay, and I'm going to set that off to the side so it can finish drying. It's pretty dry after I've watercolored it, but it still is a little bit damp. So I'm going to put it off to the side while I assemble my card. So I'm using Coastal Cabana. This is cut 11 by 4 1/4, scored at 5 1/2. And I don't see my bone folder here. Okay, and then I have a piece of paper cut from let me just get the name of this, cut from the Artistry Blooms Designer Series paper, and it is cut to 3 1/4 by 5 1/2, and I'm going to use some of our Stamp and Seal to put that on my card. Okay, I do see I have a teeny tiny bit of overhang here, so I'm just going to use some scissors to trim that off. Okay. Now I'm going to adhere my watercolor piece here. I'm going to use some mono liquid glue. some of our multi-purpose glue. And this glue, a little will go a long way. I'm going to bring in my silicone craft sheet because I want to keep my grid mat clean here. So I'm going to put some along this banner portion, and then just a few dabs here and there along my card. In some of those thicker areas. Okay. All right, and then I'm going to bring in some of our sequins here and my take your pick tool. I'm going to use the pointy end to help get underneath the adhesive here and help me stick it down. All right. And there's our finished card for today. I did make a little bit of a stepped up version. It has a few more sequins kind of tucked around and some baker's twine there. So a pretty simple version and a little bit stepped up version. All right, I hope you enjoyed our card for today, and we'll see you next time.